What do children's television shows like Barney, Teletubbies, Bear in the Big Blue House, or even Sesame Street have in common? The answer might surprise you, as there is a hidden connection, and that connection is nothing good. And it's a connection that you won't see if you have never ever dealt with a narcissist. Stick around because things are about to get real. I mean, really real, both scientifically and biblically real in this video. Welcome to Positively Spiritual, your internet hub of keeping it real by exposing narcissism, by exposing narcissism. My name is Shannon Gilmore, and I expose you to the nuts and bolts, the nitty-gritty of problematic behavior by calling it out from its hidden spiritual roots, as I also share with you insightful ways to spiritually heal through biblical foundation. Most of us grew up on television shows like Sesame Street. Why do I just hear the theme song playing in the background in my head? Yeah, we probably still know that song by heart. And from there, we as parents, we then allowed our children and even encouraged them to watch television shows like Sesame Street, Bear in the Big Blue House, Blue's Clues, and Barney. I love you. You probably know the words to that theme song too, right? Am I right? Oh yeah, I know you know these theme songs. But don't get me started on Bear in the Big Blue House, the bear cha-cha-cha. Oh yeah, you know it. And those were some good times, right? They were happy vibes. We all have our favorite and least favorite TV shows. And with that comes along our favorite and least favorite puppet characters. My least favorite is Oscar the Grouch by none. He's a bossy ignoramus who is mean, apathetic, callous, and rude. In the real world, I don't think we would allow our children near him. I know me, I would have forbade my children from going near him if he hung around our street corner. I would have probably run him out of the cul-de-sac, calling him a piece of garbage. Am I being insulting? Am I? Really? We should just go stop this video and take a 5-minute briefer to reacquaint ourselves with Oscar. Instead, let's just stay here and take a little bit of a peek into his character. He lives in a garbage can. That's his home. And did you know that the state of your home, both what it looks like on the outside and the inside, actually reflects what's going on up in here and in here? Cleaning your room where you sleep, cleaning your house where you live is extremely important, is psychologically important, because the psychological implications for living among mess is revealing as it's devastating. Now, this isn't where I want to go with this video. That's a whole nother story. So let me get us back on track. Oscar the Grouch is the playground bully, and how he interacts with adults and children on Sesame Street is not okay. Have you ever noticed? Why did we ever think that this behavior was okay? It's because we've become desensitized to it, just like our children have. Oscar needs his attitude washed out with a bar of soap. Seriously. The way adults and children respond to Oscar in such loving ways, oh, that's alarming. Now, if you think I'm being in error of making this video and picking on Oscar the Grouch, please just go watch a random Sesame Street video. Go watch these videos with narcissism and narcissistic trauma abuse in mind. Then come back here and watch this video and comment, as I really want us to have a serious conversation about this topic. I will bring to the table in this video evidence that suggests that puppets are promoting behavioral abnormalities in our kids, such as unhealthy narcissism, as this is accentuated by the puppets in the worst way. And this worst way stymies our children's behavioral growth from a clinical perspective. It isn't just one puppet that is the problem. It's all the Sesame Street puppet cast and other puppets and cartoons as well, as they all pose a psychological danger to children, and I'm going to share with you what that danger is. Watch this video till the very end. It's going to be a little bit of a long one, but take this in parts if you need to, but please, I beg you, watch to the very end on this one, because I want your opinion. If you do not agree with me, comment down below, but comment after you've watched to the very end, because I've got some nuggets of information that you are going to want to see. What in the hell are the Muppets or the puppets teaching our children? That's what we're going to find out. I have personally studied early childhood development as a way to understand my own childhood trauma and the trauma that causes narcissistic personality disorder. I have written about this and included my findings in this book, Narcissism, the Bad Boy Image. You can find a link to this book in the description of this video. Now, I want to read to you the chapter on childhood behavior and the dysfunctioning brain, but I don't know if we'll get a chance to read it in this video, because this content in this video is going to be extensive. But going back to the psychological disturbances of the human psyche, we can all agree with the psychologist that bad parenting enhances narcissistic tendencies. This is classic psychology 101. We don't need psychology degrees to figure that out. Now, people who are living in unhealed trauma, they do make for bad parents. I can say this because I was a bad parent. I had children before I allowed myself to heal of my childhood trauma. So please do not get offended in this video. I'm not saying anything against you. I am calling us all out. We're not perfect people here. And I am not saying anything that I am not willing to say about myself first. However, it's not just the parent's fault. This is what I'm discovering in my own understanding of narcissistic trauma and narcissistic personality disorder. It truly does take a village to raise a child. The fault lies with the parents, yes, but also with the caregivers, the replacement parents, such as the teachers, the mentors, the sports coaches. Everyone whom we allowed to have a hand in rearing our children and minding them, we are responsible, and so are they. Everyone whom we handed our children over to, as these people took the responsibility of minding our children for us, they are also responsible, including the people on TV. Have you ever sat your child down in front of the TV in an attempt to distract them so that you could go do something else? Maybe you had some much needed work to be done. Oh yeah, we've all done it. But some parents, not all, but some parents have raised their kids with the TV, as the TV acted as a full-time stand-in for a part-time babysitter. Now, in 1969, the TV show Sesame Street made its debut, showcasing hand puppets to teach children. And how they taught children was awesome. They taught our little tiny toddlers relationship skills, how to be nice, how to be kind, how to be thoughtful to one another. That was a really awesome idea, and all of this was mixed in with childhood learning, language skills, and mathematics. I don't think anybody saw a problem at the time, and if they did, they just turned a blind eye, because now that problem that nobody saw back then is biting us in our asses in society. We know that the road paved with good intentions is a road that leads to hell, and I'm thinking that Sesame Street and shows like it help to produce the end product seen in our grown-up children who have narcissistic tendencies. And narcissistic tendencies, this is a monumental behavioral problem today in society. What kind of behaviors has watching talking puppets brought out in our children? We're gonna delve into that in this video. I believe certain behaviors, or the lack thereof, our kids see this from puppets, and these behaviors or lack of behaviors have been normalized. I will explain this, just stick with me in this video. Without these TV shows that teach our children through puppetry, I believe we wouldn't have the narcissism so in your face as it is today. Narcissism is a set of behaviors that have become normalized in an individual's psyche. Now, did you know that a child has to be taught how to be mean and selfish to become mean and selfish? Thank you, Oscar the Grouch. Unrighteous behaviors are inherent in everyone, yes, but they are brought out by someone in position of power and influence who teaches these behaviors to children. A child does not know that they are stealing a cookie from the cookie jar until they are told that they stole a cookie from the cookie jar. A child doesn't know bad behavior is bad until they are told that their behavior is bad. Now I have to ask, does anyone on Sesame Street ever try to correct Oscar the Grouch on his bad behavior? Nope. He is the way he is, and so everyone just has to deal with it. Is this the Christian way? Is this the enlightened way? No, even those who do not follow Christianity but follow moral codes and ethics know that to do better, we have to become better. No one tries to help Oscar to be happy. His behavior is encouraged as it's enabled. Do you know how children initially learn? Young children learn by the way of mimicry. They mimic what they see. This is why young girls pretend to put on their mother's lipstick, just like mommy. Or little boys hold a cigarette and smoke just like their daddies. A child mimics the most influential people in their lives. And if a puppet and cartoons are a child's mainstay, then I question, are they learning healthy or unhealthy behavior that isn't human? A child cannot mimic behavior they do not see. I'm going somewhere with this. It may not make sense to you right now, but just wait. The child is learning to deflect and ignore human traits because they cannot see human traits that are important, human characteristics that help us to emotionally connect and bond with each other and ourselves. This is non-existent in a puppet or cartoon. Puppets and cartoons teach our children to be a little less empathetic and more apathetic. Now, from a child developmental psychological perspective, talking puppets, I'm going to say this on the fly here, they have stunted our children's mental and behavioral growth. Why? Because it's not normal for kids to interact with puppets. But nowadays it is. But before the mid-60s, children were taught by other humans. Children were taught by face-to-face contact. Human-to-human interaction, as that contact was and still is necessary for proper behavioral development. A child's mind does not think or see the world as an adult does. The mind of a child literally cannot view the world as an adult does, because the mind of a child in his or her tender years is still developing. The brain is not just growing, it's actually developing and forming synapses. And it doesn't grow with the more information you present to it. It adapts, yes, but the child's brain is enhanced and enriched by clusters of learning modalities that are linked together. Therefore, they are grouped together. Learning isn't just about speaking, as language isn't about speaking. Language encompasses cultures. Now, in the cluster of language, there is comprehension and communicative skills, such as reading words on a page. But reading is also taking visual cues from the person who is speaking to you. Now, science is so focused on the physical aspects of communication, but there is an important structure to our humanity we often forget. Energy. What science calls energy, the Bible calls spirit. Our bodies read other people's vibes, my friend, and we react to these vibes through intuition, a hidden knowing that you just know what you know. Now, a child is really, really good at reading a person's energy, and they express that apprehension through ways of being, through showing timid and shy poses. A child cannot read the energy signature of a talking puppet, and so they cannot rely on intuition when they see people on TV talking and interacting with something that has no living energy. Does this make sense? Oh, it gets weirder. The enemy has twisted the idea of idol worship and threw it back in our faces through our children, playing on our empathy. Oh, don't take away our children's fun. Shannon, you're just such a fun sucker. What's with you anyway? Well, did you know that the brain cannot tell the difference between fantasy or reality? This, my friend, is proven science. A toddler at his or her beginning stages of learning, they learn how to express their emotions appropriately by mimicry, but it doesn't mean that they are self-aware. It doesn't mean that they understand why they're doing what they're doing. And it doesn't mean that they understand the feelings that they're trying to communicate to us. It doesn't mean that they know which emotions go with what facial expressions. Self-awareness and all of that comes much later in life for them. At the toddler stage, they're still in playtime mode. They are still in that imitation stage of their behavioral development. A child cannot grasp adult concepts, and these adult concepts are in the form of sarcasm, gaslighting, projection, blame shifting, triangulation, and guilt tripping from Muppet characters. I saw this narcissistic, abusive detail from one Muppet character in a 12-minute skit called Oscar Gets a Cell Phone. And who was that narcissist? Oh yeah, Oscar the Grouch. The red flags were all over this skit, and I'm sure they're all over the they are all over many TV shows, as I watched another skit included Grover, and oh my gosh, he was a gaslighter. I'm really passionate about this subject, my friend, and this video isn't just some fly-by-night, put this video up to gain subs and attention for me. I'm a mother of grown-up children, and I might be a grandmother soon, who knows? And I know I've made my own mistakes raising my children. I didn't get a do-over in life. So I'm sharing this knowledge with you to help you who might be a parent, a caregiver, an aunt, an uncle, or a grandparent, maybe even a babysitter. I don't want us to hurt anymore. I want us to stop hurting each other, and we've got to stop doing that because we're hurting our kids. If we can help each other, I think that we should try, yeah? That's why this channel, Positively Spiritual, exists. That's why this video exists. Raising awareness is a start. That's what I hope this video does. I hope I've gotten your attention. I hope that you do your own research and give what I'm sharing with you prayerful attention. We want narcissism out of our society, right? Well, then we've got to stop teaching narcissism to our children. If you have seen enough of this video, then end it right here. But in the next half of this video, I would like to share with you some interesting excerpts from articles that I've found on the internet. These are articles of interest on behavioral studies of young children. Now, I'm just skimming the surface. I don't have time to do all the research in an hour-long video. You guys want me to put out 5-minute videos on healing. It can't be done. I encourage you to please watch on, because I would really, really appreciate your comments on this subject. Now, what I see as another major concern is this. According to a child developmental website at scanva.org, an article titled, and I quote, Social Development in Children, has this to say. What is social development? Social development refers to the process by which a child learns to interact with others around them. As they develop and perceive their own individuality within their community, they also gain skills to communicate with other people and process their actions. Social development most often refers to how a child develops friendships in other relationships as well as how a child handles conflict with peers. Did anything jump out at you? Narcissistic behavioral disorder is a behavioral disorder for a reason. So let me just read the last sentence from that article again. Social development most often refers to how a child develops friendships in other relationships, as well as how a child handles conflict with peers. Did you get that now? How well do narcissists handle conflict with peers? Not very well. We have imperfect people who memorize scripts with narcissistic content, manipulating puppets who cannot mimic human facial expressions or body language to appear more human, to which our child's minds cannot error correct in a way that matters. Why? Because children are not mature enough to understand. Because their minds are still developing. Does this compute? I certainly hope it does. And at such tender ages, they shouldn't be given the responsibility to understand adult concepts such as gaslighting. Because learning from puppets is a man-made concept, not inherent by design. It's our job as parents to protect their impressionable minds from potential harm. I'm going to go on a limb here saying that it is child abuse to cause a child to be made aware of something they cannot yet comprehend. We are abusing our children unknowingly by teaching them the ways of adult narcissism when adult puppeteers play the voice of some so-called naive, innocent, young, animalistic character that clearly exhibits narcissistic character traits. Now, a narcissist cannot understand the ways of a normal adult. So how can a narcissist understand the ways of a child? Seriously, the way these puppets talk to each other and teach children are not from a childlike perspective. It is from the perspective of an adult mind as an adult puppeteer mans the puppet, and the script that these adult puppeteers read from are abusive, narcissistic in their tendencies. Just go watch Sesame Street for yourself and see from your own perspective of narcissistic trauma. And take notes. I've got 2 skits that would be of benefit for you to watch. Oscar gets a cell phone, and there's a fly in my soup. These puppets are problematic in their own right. Now they cannot, because the way that they were created, they cannot properly communicate with children on the level that children need. Children need non-verbal communication that puppets cannot convey because puppets are toys. Puppets are not human, obviously. Non-verbal communication is essential for childhood behavioral development. It's essential for our humanity. Now, there are 5 non-verbal requirements that are important, if not detrimental, for a child's learning and for their understanding in their own behavioral management. You want to know what they are? Body movement, touch, eye contact, facial expressions, and personal space. In an article titled Nonverbal Communication in Children, Why Body Language is So Important for Development, this article states, nonverbal communication with a child at a young age has a big effect on relationships with friends and family. It can also play a significant part in their emotional development and sense of self-worth. End quote. In another article on fatherly.com, this article titled, "When Do Babies Understand Facial Expressions?" Oh, this article had a lot to say. As this article takes an in-depth look at the age groups of children and how each age group is able to differentiate between specific emotions. The emotions that children have difficulty picking out are happy, sad, and angry faces. Surprise, anger, and disgust are not really recognizable until about the age of 14 to 16 years old. An alternate study in 2013 showed that our children may divide faces into two categories: bad and good. Now, children with autism, this is enlightening. Just listen to this. Children with autism tend to be less accurate when it comes to recognizing facial expressions. There are several broad terms that describe people who cannot read emotions. I didn't know this was a thing, but apparently it is. The three most common terms: emotional agnosia, which is the inability to perceive facial expressions; prosopagnosia, which is face blindness; and alexithymia, which is the inability to identify emotions. Does this ring a bell? Is this alarming to you? Because these three emotions mentioned are also associated with narcissistic personality disorder, and I'm going to talk about these in another video in the future, as they are all three associated with a lack of empathy, something that puppets cannot teach. Empathy. The facial expressions on a puppet is obvious. It's non-existent, and a child has to guess at what the puppet is feeling through exaggerated body language. And they have to read the tone of the voice. And then the children have to register the context within the situation that the puppet is engaged in. Could it be that the three common narcissistic traits that have to do with recognizing facial expressions might have a childhood developmental link involving puppetry? I believe so. I believe because a child in their developing stages relies very heavily on learning through mimicry. Mimicry involves mimicking body language, vocal structure, and facial expressions, including those micro expressions. Where are we here? Ever read, this book by Paul Ekman, Emotions Revealed? Oh, what's this one here? Lie to Me? Or, no, Spy the Lie. These books are really important as they reveal facial expressions and how to read micro expressions. The bottom line is a child who is still developing communication skills and relies heavily on mimicry by taking in visual cues cannot see what they need to see, as they cannot properly mimic appropriate behavior from a stoic looking face on a puppet or cartoon. Instead, the puppet is devoid of facial expression, has that blank stare, opened mouth, and the child has to rely on implied speech, tone, and conversational context to which the child cannot yet comprehend. The lack of facial expressions on a puppet cannot appropriately show emotion, and I question if that emotionless stance is registering on a child's face. A child cannot learn what a child cannot see, and a puppet cannot teach what it cannot teach. Children are learning from the lack of visual cues on the puppets and transferring that to communicate with other human faces. Are you understanding this? This severely stunts an individual's ability to empathize and share emotions with others. Now, God tells us that the eyes are the window to the soul. And when looking at any puppet character in the eye, what do you get? Eye contact is a form of basic communication. How can the child know what the puppet is feeling while looking into the eyes of a puppet? A child cannot tell from the voice alone if the puppet is happy or sad or angry or even anxious. We need the eyes to help us to see and reflect human character. Even when we look into the eyes of our beloved pets, we see their character. And it's loving, is it not? All puppets have that stone cold stare. Now, do you know how to tell if someone is really genuinely smiling? They don't just smile with their cheeks, they smile with their eyes. And the muscles in the eyes are used. It's not just in the corner of the eyes, it's the bottom of the eyes and the top of the eyes. You can't fake a genuine smile. True happiness and joy radiates from the eyes. Now, children, they have to guess what a puppet might be feeling or thinking. The cold, blank stare from a puppet disarms the child to real human dangers in the world. We have become desensitized to the emotional stare of that psychopathic narcissist. And I'm wondering, since children learn by mimicry, are they unknowingly learning to mimic that gaze, that same stoic, devoid of emotion glare? Have you ever seen a blank, dead-eyed stare from a tot with their mouth hanging open? It's not cute. They look just like a Muppet. And I'll talk about this later, about the psychotic stare, as this psychological phenomenon has a name, the Sampaku eye. And there are 3 types. So we're not done this video yet, so just stick around. Now, at some stage of the developmental process, a child relies on the information they receive from mimicking emotions. I wonder if watching puppets has stunted a child's development of relying on other types of visual cues. Again, it's a possibility, since adult narcissists, they too rely heavily on mimicry. Puppets cannot help a child develop facial expressions, so a child cannot mimic what they do not see in a puppet. Now, an adult watching a puppet, well, they're able to hear in the puppet's voice sadness from Big Bird, anger from Oscar, kindness from Barney. But a child, they're not equipped, as their brain is not mature enough in their developmental stages to understand that kind of contextual value. and they can't see or understand non-visuals in communication. Are you getting my point? Please get my point. And let's face it, when it comes to puppetry, there's no body language that shows an emotional connection towards someone or something that is backed up with facial expressions. These visual cues would lead the child to fully and completely understand what the heck is going on, as these visual cues help children to understand human emotion. But puppets, oh no, they cannot and should not be teaching our children human emotion. Puppets cannot convey heartfelt emotion and empathy. So let's just talk about those eyes for a moment. The eye contact from the puppets, well, that's cold. Cold as ice and distant. And this is what the child is picking up on. That's the superficial cue that only a puppet can give. And we wonder where narcissism comes from. The puppet gives emotionless visual cues, and this is what the child learns to emulate. Have you ever seen how a narcissist has the ability to stare at you? Oh yeah, it's freaking creepy. And they stare at you as if they're looking right through you, as if you are not even there. That's because they objectify you. Just imagine Oscar the Grouch or Elmo staring at you, or even Grover, the next time a narcissist stares at you. Don't laugh, but you're going to see a connection. Puppets are objects, so of course they're going to objectify their viewer. When you watch Sesame Street from the perspective of narcissistic trauma and narcissistic abuse, you can clearly see that Sesame Street stunts a child's intelligence as the puppets teach things that are insulting to our human intelligence. Children need to be better respected. They deserve the best from us, not the worst. The horrors of narcissism is taught through talking Muppets that express adult humor, such as sarcasm and innuendos and over-exaggerated body language that results in the puppet having an emotional meltdown and temper tantrum on TV. This is not okay, because toddlers today are not being taught how to properly manage or express their emotions. And it's not just toddlers. Young children who are 8 and 10, 11, 12 years old don't know how to modify their emotions and understand and properly express their emotions. No, toddlers and young kids just stomp on the floor around like Grover or Elmo and throw their bodies on the floor and expect their parents to cater to that behavior. There's no facial gestures on the Muppets to convey frustration or concern. And these educational underpinnings are a huge concern, as they are red flags that go against our child's welfare, and they need to be addressed right now. So, you ready for the Sanpaku eyes? Let's discuss. It's a Japanese term, and all the Muppets or puppets have them. Sanpaku eyes are distinct. There are 3 types of Sanpaku eyes. You can see what it is just looking at the eye and seeing the whites of the eye at the bottom or at the top or all around the iris. The eyes, as God tells us, are the windows to the soul. And Sanpaku eyes can let you know when someone's soul is disturbed, or at least stressed, or even if someone has psychotic tendencies like Charles Manson. Yes, it's that serious, and it's obvious. What type of eye do most Muppets and puppets and cartoon characters have? The psychotic eye and that psychotic stare. I question that children might unknowingly take on the superficial, non-human mannerisms they see from puppets. I believe they do. And these mannerisms are causing the Sampaku eye because adults, as children, did not know how to convey or regulate their emotions because they were highly influenced and imprinted with puppets. I believe that they take in the puppet's superficial stare because children learn from mimicry. Puppets cannot teach our children lessons in humanity, friends. From a Christian perspective, we are leading our children to view inanimate objects as something to love and care for. Is this akin to idol worship? I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. These puppets are objects, and we wonder why the narcissist objectifies fellow humans. Coveting after puppets has actually created a monstrosity in humanity that we cannot come back from. Everybody wanted a Tickle Me Elmo doll. And oh, that fake laugh. That laugh is fake and obnoxious. I'm not going back on my biblical stance of where narcissism comes from. Oh no. It truly does come from the generational curse given to Adam and Eve and the enemy in the Garden of Eden. Yes, narcissists are born. They are the enemy by birth, and the behavior is accentuated by bad parenting. However, children's television shows promote narcissism in the worst way. Now, this subject is so deep, and this video, I am sure, barely scratches the surface. I encourage you to do your own research. In my book entitled Narcissism, the Bad Boy Image, I discuss the mind of a feral child and how the mind of a narcissist is kind of an equivalent. And I share with you a scientific perspective on this. Look for it in chapter 19 called Where Does Narcissism Come From? There is some important information that can help tie all this information in this video together, but we're already almost at an hour into this video. I don't have time to read to you that chapter. So download your PDF copy of this book, and I will provide a link in the description of this video. I think I will actually take a screenshot of the important pages that I would like for you to read, and I'll make them available for a download for you. So look to the end of this video to read a screenshot from this chapter in this book. Pause the video and you can read the information for yourself or download it, or just get your hands on this book. Learn from the psychological and biblical perspectives of narcissism. So if you've liked this video, give it a like and subscribe to this channel, because I beg you to help me get this video out to those who need to see it. We are the help we have been desperately waiting for. Knowledge is power, and when you use knowledge to empower yourself, you really do set yourself free. So there you have it, my friend. The link between narcissism and puppets used to educate our children, as this is alarming and it's a growing concern. Do you have any questions? Let's discuss this in the comments section together. Now, in this video, I have shown you the importance of human-to-human contact that we need to have with our children, as we need to have this with each other. I question what have some of our children become as leading members of society of today because they were raised on puppet TV shows. I believe we as parents have helped to create a soulless generation by doing our best with the best of intentions in mind, just to help educate our children in ways that we thought they would benefit from. We didn't intend to do anybody harm, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions and with good reason. The generations of good intentions have created for us a world that we can barely sustain, that can barely sustain itself as gaslighting antics try to lead good people astray. We are seeing wars and rumors of wars, racism, woke societies, cancel culture, and this is all because of narcissism that is at our doorstep. And this stuff just all keeps coming as it keeps going, as we spin our wheels in the name of emotionless bonds. This video shows us the puppets as a method of teaching are part of the problem, as puppets has raised future generations to sidestep their humanity and God, to live in behavioral separation of who they truly are. We can't do anything about the narcissist, but we can do something today that helps heal our trauma and prevents it from affecting another generation. So consider the content in this video and spread the word. Let's teach our children through loving human teachers, not through puppet characters that fail our young ones in teaching them models of behavior. Let's do our best to help right the wrongs in our teaching methods for our children of the future. Thank you.